Revenge films.
My parents didn't really do anything for me when I was a kid. I still remember playing in the park by myself at age 3. In elementary school, I made a few friends, but kids started picking on me. I didn't know why at the time, but looking back, I guess I was a pretty weird kid. My parents never hit me, but they abused me mentally. I grew up to be a pretty messed up person. I couldn't get a good job. I didn't even go to high school. I got some dead-end job and started working right after junior high. Life was pretty tough for me. When I turned 20, my mom told me to come over with my health insurance card. I realized that she was trying to borrow money under my name. So I refused. I give half of my salary to you every month. How are you broke? You might be my mom, but I'm not going in debt for you. She flipped out. You won't even help out your own mother? Get out then! I don't want to see your face ever again! Then she kicked me out of the house. I went to stay with my friends for a while. I started looking for jobs with a dormitory. After a while, I found a good job and ended up moving to the East Coast. After a few months, I took up my friend, who let me stay at her house after I got kicked out, to dinner at a nice restaurant to thank her. Good luck, she said to me. I started working really hard after that. I wasn't good with people, but I worked really hard. And the people at work were really nice to me too. Things were looking good for me. Then, one of my colleagues asked me if I was interested in playing video games. It was one of those online games. I didn't know much about video games, but I tried it anyway. It was actually pretty fun. I did all kinds of missions and leveled up my character. Turns out, I was pretty good at video games. People started depending on me. People even started thanking me for it. I felt important and needed for the first time in my life. I cried from joy in front of my computer. Then one day, we all went out to dinner together. I was still bad at socializing, so I didn't know if I should go, but one of my friends said, "Allie, you're coming too, right? Please come." I was so happy to hear that. There were all kinds of people there. I wasn't good at socializing, but since we all had a lot in common to begin with, the get-together was a lot of fun. I started feeling more comfortable around people after that. I was finally finding my place in the world. Then, one of them asked me out. He told me.
It was love at first sight.
I couldn't believe it. I didn't know what to say to him. Then he said,
No need to rush anything.
So I decided to think about it. But as I got to know him better, I started liking him too. We started dating shortly after. I told him everything before we started dating. I told him I was bad with people and that I had crappy parents. I was kind of scared that he might leave me after, but he accepted me for who I was. After I told him everything, he said,
Well then, it's about time you start living your life.
His words meant so much to me. I started crying from joy. After going out with him, I felt like a completely different person. I learned all kinds of new things about myself. I just felt so comfortable around him. 2 years later, he proposed to me. We went to see his parents. His parents were so kind. They were nothing like my parents. I decided to tell them everything about myself. By the time I finished talking, my heart was pounding. I was so nervous. What if they say no about the marriage? I was so scared. But I soon realized I had nothing to worry about. They welcomed me in with open arms. "We've always wanted a daughter. We'd be so happy to welcome you into our family," his mom said to me. I was so happy to hear that. Then I started crying from joy. So I was getting married, but I started wondering, should I tell my parents about this? Then my grandma called. She said my mom was in the hospital. I told my husband what happened.
You should go see her right away.
He said. So I went back home and went to see her at the hospital. My mom was unconscious. She was laying in bed in silence. She never did anything for me. She even kicked me out of the house. But seeing her like this, I felt all kinds of emotions running through my mind. Then Grandma said to me, "Thank you for coming, dear." I told her that I was getting married. "Oh, congratulations, dear. I'm so happy for you. You don't have to worry about your mother. Go out there and live your life. I'll watch her. You go be with your husband." So I did. I left the hospital. The next day, my mom passed away. Later, I heard from my uncle that my mom was really depressed. She was especially upset about the way she treated me. She was a crappy mom, and she kicked me out of the house. But I didn't hold any grudge against her. I started to think, maybe if I had reached out to her, things wouldn't have ended like this. After the funeral, I flew back home. I was so relieved to see him again. I told him about what happened. I told him that I was starting to have regrets about how I treated my mom. About a year later, we finally got married. His parents were so good to me. They treated me like I was their real daughter. I felt like they were my real parents, too. Then, a year later, I was pregnant. I was really happy, but at the same time, I was worried. I was neglected as a child. Will I be able to look after my child? I shared my concern with my husband and his parents. Then his mom said to me, "No one is perfect, dear. Everyone feels that way when they're having kids for the first time." But I was still worried about it, so my husband introduced me to his cousin. She already had 2 kids, and she was really kind. They were all so supportive. My stomach was getting bigger and bigger. Then, 9 months later, I finally gave birth. When I heard the baby crying, I thought she kind of sounded like my husband. Then, when I tried to feed my daughter, she grabbed my fingers with her hands. I started crying from joy. I'm never gonna do what my parents did to me. I'm gonna be the best mom in the world. A few days later, my husband's parents came over to visit me.
Thank you so much. Thanks to you, we now have a beautiful grandson.
Thank you for everything, too. You guys took me in with open arms. I can never thank you enough for everything you've done for me, I replied. Today, my daughter is 6 years old. She's so kind and caring. I'm really proud of her. I didn't have the best parents in the world, but I had great friends, a loving husband, and a beautiful daughter. And let's not forget my in-laws. They've been so good to me. Growing up, I was really bad at socializing, but not anymore. People around me have been so good to me. Raising a child isn't easy. I'm sure there'll be tough times too, like when she becomes a teenager. But even then, I don't think I'll ever stop loving her.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.